I think there's something to be said about classic Shakespearean presentation, because sometimes they're just so like, have you ever seen the movie version of King Richard III, but it's set in World War I, and so when he's like, my kingdom for a horse, he's just surrounded by fucking tanks. Or the like 2001 Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet.
That's my favorite one. I love that one.
Gross. Terrible. Fucking awful.
I'm obsessed with how bad it is.
It is truly bad. I hate it so much.
I wish they had a different Juliet, but like...
It is what it is, yeah.
It is what it is. I thought everyone... Mercutio was my absolute favorite. But Mercutio is such a good role. He's always my... He's always my favorite. All right, we should get started because I'm on this stupid timeline.
Welcome to Booked All Night, the podcast where hot takes meet craft notes and no one gets enough sleep. I'm Jess.
I'm Katy.
I'm Julia.
I'm Maggie. Get ready for unhinged hot takes,
A whole lot of books,
midnight giggles,
and zero shame. Grab your blankets, booklets, it's time to get booked all night. Welcome to Booked All Night, podcast where we already have a pre-recorded opening. Why am I doing this? Welcome to Booked All Night. I'm Jess.
I'm Julia.
I'm Kaylee.
Thank you. We are about to finish our Hunger Games talk, so if you have not finished yet, you've had 20 years, but okay, hit pause and come back later to avoid spoilers. The quick summary of the section that we are finishing first, and then going into a whole book talk, is Katniss and Peeta bond, and we the readers get some proof that he might have been telling the truth. They are forced to the lake to confront Cato, enter the mutations, a very long and chewy night, no more dual winners, the berries, the no boob job thing, I didn't dream it up, it was not a fever dream, highlights in the interview, and Katniss being dumb. Trademark. Where would anyone like to start?
So... I have a question that I was thinking about all day, because today was when I finished the last bit of it, and I don't want to forget it. So, you know how in this part she talks about Gale, and if Gale were in the games, he'd do this, or like Peeta just is scared of going out to
the feast and
no, like going past the District 12, like in the woods,
past the fence,
right? And she says something like, oh, what would Peeta think of what me and Gale talk about when I'm out there and stuff? And I kind of thought, like, what if it was Gale who was picked for the games? How do you think he would be?
I think she'd kill him.
I think Gale would try to kill her.
Yeah.
Like, right away.
Do you think she would, like, see who he really is, and he's, like, someone like Cato, where we have to get to them first, we have to hunt them, we have to kill them, you know?
I don't know that she would go there first, but I think if it were Gale, that it would be one of those things that it comes down to both of them. And she'd be like, well, I'm going to shoot you now, because I can't imagine that he would have the same level of teamwork. I don't want to say camaraderie, but he wouldn't have that loyalty. Is that the word I'm looking for? Or like, because Peeta comes from a place, he's like, I want to help you get to the end, regardless of whether or not we're going to do that together. Where I think Gale would just be like, I have to survive, and if I have to survive, that means you have to die, so bye.
Okay, I have a different argument.
Okay.
I think that Katniss falls for Peeta more so for his compassion, and I feel like Gale would be so ruthless, she would be really turned off by that.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that that's the thing that would, like, push her away from him. Because I think he would be the type that, like, wouldn't understand why she did that thing for Rue. And he wouldn't understand the thing with, like, Thresh. And I do think he would come across more as Cato, and even right at the beginning, I don't know, I just don't see it going well, because he also doesn't have the charm that Peeta has. Like, right off the bat, when he has that interview with Caesar, like, she notices the Capitol falling in love with him, and I just don't see it going the same way with Gale. I think he's like full brute force.
Yeah, could you imagine the interview with Gale, though? He'd be like, what do you think of the Capitol? I think you can all fuck yourselves. That's
Literally.
what I think of. Like,
Literally.
I don't think that he would even try to attempt to play that game. I think he would just, as you're saying, he'd just be full frontal force, fuck you guys. Yeah. And it'd be like, oh, wow, you didn't get sponsors. Who could have seen that coming?
Well, and like, I think that a big part of them succeeding is Haymitch liking Peeta. And Gale would not have had the charm to make Haymitch like him.
I agree.
But.
So sorry, I wanted to get that out there because that's what I was thinking. Please. I was thinking it just would be totally flipped.
Yeah. I think a lot of people argue that she would have survived with Gale because he was such a better hunter and stuff, but I think his arrogance would have been his downfall as well.
So I think in this particular 7-chapter chunk, it's a really good thing to bring up, like what would have happened if it were Gale, because she is constantly comparing it back to Gale, sometimes in a good light and sometimes in a negative light, where she's like, she talks about the meadow that's in the arena and she's like, Gale would have seen that for something to get food in the way that Thresh did, but Peeta would never have to think that way because Peeta has never had to go hunting for his food. He's always had food on the table.
That's the line where I started thinking about that.
Why?
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, there have been a few other lines like that where she's like, I wonder what Gale's thinking back in District 12 versus I wonder what Peeta would think if he were back in District 12. And she does have that compare contrast going back and forth. There's even a line pretty early on where she's like, I've never really thought of Gale romantically.
Well, I think she's lying to herself.
Yeah, I think she is too. There's a lot in here that I think she's just lying to herself about, particularly around her feelings for Peeta. Especially, there is that scene there in the little cave. It's like pouring down rain outside. And she's like, so when did you first realize you liked me? Which, you know, quintessential girl question to ask. Yeah, oh my God, what's your favorite feature? Right? So he goes on that and he's like, I remember the first day of school, you wore this very specific red outfit. You had your hair in pigtails and my father pointed at you and said that he wanted to marry your mother.
What a crazy thing to tell your kids.
Right.
But it explains a lot about why the baker takes care of her family and her and, you know.
On that front, yes. But also, what a weird thing to say to your kids.
Yes.
Like, they're starting school, so they're in kindergarten. So, like, let's see.
5.
10, 9. I would have been like, 5 or 6 years old. Can you imagine telling your 5 or 6-year-old, well, I wanted to marry her, but I wound up with your mother? Like,
why did you think of the Gale Peeta thing just specifically at the field? What made that spark for you?
So she brings that up about the field when she sees Thresh running into the meadow and the tall grasses and things. And she's just like, yeah, Gale would see that as a hiding space. He'd see it as a place to hunt. He'd see it as a source of food. He'd see it for all these other things that Peeta doesn't, because Peeta has, specifically, she's saying because he's always had food on the table.
I just meant for Katy when she said that, how that was like your specific moment that you thought of that.
That was a specific moment where I thought, what if Gale was in this game? How would he be?
Oh, okay. That was just like
that was the catalyst. And then I couldn't stop thinking about, what if Gale was in this game? What would he be doing? Would he be hunting the others? Or would he be as compassionate as Katniss, right? Because I mean, they're friends. But that's what I'm saying. I misspoke when I said the whole, like, what the catalyst was for that question. It was the
I think a good litmus test for that is when they saw that girl in the woods when she was running. What did Gale say he should have helped her or something? Because I know Katniss struggles with that, but I don't know if that's actually a conversation that they had with each other.
I don't think that it was that they had that experience and then they both immediately we were like, we have to hide so that we don't get caught.
I kind of want to go back and look.
I don't think they ever had a heart-to-heart about what that was. There was also another hunting story about Gale in there, but she was lying about it because everybody's watching. So she's like, yeah, we were buying food the legal way, and we went to the legal market to get the legal food that we certainly didn't go out of bounds to illegally hunt. That was like weird. And that's one of the bonding moments between them too. I don't think the judgment call that we're making, I think, is from having finished the trilogy, right? We all have knowledge of future Gale and his actions and his words and his fucking attitude. I don't know that we could make that decision book one Gale, because we only see him very early on in the districts.
See, I I am like making this assumption just based off book Gale, just so you know. I didn't take future Gale into consideration.
I completely forgot about future Gale until now.
Yeah, honestly, me too. Until you said that. So
sorry.
No, that's okay. But I do see like where you're coming from.
And I guess you know what else is kind of influencing me, and this is going to sound really weird, but Liam Hemsworth. Because he's Gale in the movie. And
he's a dick. Fuck that guy.
He's a dick. He was a dick to Miley Cyrus.
He's a dick.
And he tried to be the replacement for Henry Cavill in The Witcher. No.
He looks fucking awful. I am so upset that they replaced Henry Cavill. Liam Hemsworth, like, I'll give you that Liam Hemsworth is attractive, but he is not attractive as Geralt of Rivia. He's just not.
And the funny thing is, I know that Henry Cavill is like
a nerd, a huge fucking nerd.
Well, that, but like generally attractive or like
like conventionally attractive.
Conventionally, that's it. Conventionally attractive. I do find him attractive, but like not. I'm not drawn to him. I am very drawn to him as Geralt of Rivia. Like,
I mean, he's just like the perfect
long hair.
Yeah,
please.
From Throne of Glass in that show. Mm-hmm. He's perfect. It's lovely. I know you love those books. I know you love them. You never read Throne of Glass? Oh, okay.
Well, I've never read Throne of
character.
I've never read Throne of Glass.
The long silver hair.
No, just the ACOTAR books.
And he's lovely.
Okay. Well, I find Henry Cavill above and beyond attractive in The Witcher. And Liam Hemsworth, I do find attractive, not as Geralt. So it's completely opposite.
It's not the same.
But he's a dick, so I don't find him attractive at all anymore. So.
Exactly.
I did find that quote from when she sees the Avox girl.
Yes.
I remember how the sight of this strange pair, clearly not from District 12, fleeing through the woods immobilized us. Later, we wondered if we could have helped them escape. Perhaps we might have concealed them, and if we'd moved quickly. Gale and I were taken by surprise, yes, but we were both hunters. We knew how animals looked at bay. We knew the pair, blah, blah, blah.
Is there any like specific quote from that other than we wondered? Yeah.
It's just we wondered. Where the girl had seen us, she locked eyes with us and called out for help, but neither Gale or I responded.
Yeah.
But it's also like they were a lot younger.
Yes.
And it's kind of shocking. Like it's the first time they're seeing something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think PETA would have run after her because he is an action man.
So this whole section, when she is going back and forth now, more rapidly than before about her feelings for PETA. And she still keeps questioning, like, is this just show for the games? Is this because he genuinely feels this way? And so there is a moment prior to them having a heart-to-heart where he's like, yeah, I've loved you since kindergarten, where she's wondering what they have to do to get another gift from Haymitch of food. It's right after Thresh lets her go, and PETA can't fathom that he did that. He's like, why would he do that? She's like, well, I did a gift, like, I took care of Rue, and so he just didn't want to owe me anything, and so now we're even, so if we see each other again, we can kill the other, and we don't have to be uppity about it. And the rest of the conversation is like, oh, besides, the first gift, that's always the hardest to pay back. I wouldn't even have been here to do it if you hadn't helped me then. Why did you anyway? Why? You know why. And she shakes her head, and he's like, oh, Haymitch said you would take a lot of convincing. She's like, Haymitch, what's he got to do with it? Nothing. I think that's a moment for me as a reader to be like, oh, he does, poor thing, genuinely has the feels TM for Katniss. And Katniss is, one, traumatized because she's in the games. Could you imagine having to make sense of your feelings amidst hunting and being hunted all at the same time? But at the same time, holy shit, I think if they weren't in the games and he threw a brick through her window with a love note on it, she still wouldn't get the point.
We're just friends.
Yeah, we're just friends. He threw me bread once. It's okay.
So are you saying that he doesn't understand the compassion in that moment with Thresh? Or, because I kind of took that as he doesn't see acts of kindness as like needing reciprocity.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
in that he's like, why would anybody owe anybody anything in here? And like, you didn't do it for him. And also like, I gave you bread when we were, I don't know, 12, 11, 10,
I've
whatever.
never even thought of this since then.
Why would you have to pay me back for that? Mm-hmm. That's another part that brings up he's never had to go hunting for his food. He's never had to wonder where the next meal comes from. And so when he gives somebody something, he's never had to hope that they give something back in return, because a burnt piece of bread ultimately for him is not life or death like it was for Katniss.
But he knew that he was going to get a beating from his mom when he threw that bread at her. So I do think he had a little bit of like he did have some stakes there when he threw the bread.
Some stakes, but I think he knew that he would survive a beating where Katniss would not survive without the bread. So the stakes are. Do
you think Gale would
different.
have thrown the bread?
Right into her face. Boom.
I think Gale would have cheated on his wife. Oh wait. Oh. And then Katniss would have pursued a singing career and won a Grammy for a song about him cheating on her, and she would have filmed it in the house that he cheated on her.
Best music video ever.
And it would have been petty and lovely and beautiful. Also, I do want to note, because I have it in here, just a few chapters prior to the start of this section, she was almost feral to kill Cato. She was like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to do it. He's going to die. Let's do it. Let's go find him. Let's go do this. And then she's like, I really don't actually want anybody else to die. I don't want Cato to kill Thresh, and I don't want Thresh to kill Cato. We're all human beings. So I'm like, hey, 2 chapters ago, you weren't.
Yeah, but like, you guys have been in arguments and stuff where right in the heat of the moment, you're like, fuck that guy, whatever. And then like the next day, you're like, ooh, okay. And I do think like she changes her mind on that after spending like 4 days in a tent with PETA.
In the cave while it's pouring
like in their
outside.
Little love bubble.
I also think she took some time to think about it, because if Cato kills Thresh, they don't have to kill Thresh who they like, but then they have to go up against Cato, and she doesn't want to go up against Cato, so she doesn't want anyone else to die because she doesn't want to have to kill Thresh because she likes him. He's a good guy, but she doesn't want to have to go up against Cato. So
you know what's funny is she doesn't actually kill anyone after that.
She does.
Technically.
Like
technically.
The Cato thing is just to put him out of his freaking misery at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even
but
then
she still killed him.
Yeah. But like she literally says she looked down and he was a pulp with no discernible features.
Mm-hmm.
I have a truncated version of that whole look for when we ultimately get to that. She is responsible for Cato's death, regardless of putting an arrow through his throat later, though. Like, I want to talk about the arena mechanics for a moment as I get to a craft issue that I had while rereading this. And that, I know Julie and I talked about it last week, in that knowing that we are going to repeal the as long as you're from the same district, why bother having the award for 2 tributes from the same district other than to put Katniss and PETA together narratively?
I think it's for the drama for the reality TV show.
Yes. But I also think that they could have been pushed together in another way. As we're shown, there's the firewalls and the fireballs and the dehydrated arena forcing them to the lake, the mutations and like other animals and things in the arena that could have pushed them together if the game makers wanted to.
But
narratively, let me just finish because it pissed me off. So narratively, we announce if you're both from the same district, you can both win. Mm-hmm. And that's what craft-wise brings them together in the arena, because prior to that she's had no reason to go looking after PETA. She was like, cool, you met up with the careers, I'm gonna drop some bees on you and I'm gonna bounce. Like, that was her only thought of PETA, was that she didn't want to have to kill him because she thought it would be weird going back to the district. So once Cato was gone and they repeal that, narratively it felt useless, because there were other ways to make the Capitol look cruel and push these 2 people together.
So I guess, like, my initial thought is, if I was in the Capitol, I'm watching 2 people, especially, like, they're playing up this love story, right? And especially Peeta. And I think there was maybe some like unrest or something there. Like, oh, it's so awful that they won't be able to be together and blah, 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 blah. So I think the Capitol did that to appease the Capitol people. And then knowing they would repeal it after would have been like the big dramatic, oh no, they actually got to kill each other. And then, realize that obviously that's not going to happen. But
because in the interview with Caesar, when he says like, oh, I'm with the girl that I love, like she's going into the games with me, the audience had a huge reaction. And then after that, they were really invested in Katniss and Peeta because of the love story. And so I agree with Julia. I think it's because the Capitol audience really wanted the romance thing. They were interested in that. It's like watching, reality dating TV show. You watch it for the drama, but you also watch it to see the romance start budding, the scripted romance. You know what I'm saying? But you still like kind of fall for that and get the feel for that, and you enjoy the drama. So the fact that Katniss and Peeta kept staying away from each other, that didn't make for a good show.
Well, and if they hadn't made that rule, having that thing like kind of be held over their head the whole time would have diminished the potential for the love story to grow. Because there would have been that underlying like, but I'm gonna have to kill him, but I'm gonna have to kill him, and never really trust him, where she was able to like literally let go and fully trust him. And then that's when they started kissing. Then they got their kisses in.
As we established last week, which is super gross because no one has brushed their teeth since they got into the arena.
Can't stop thinking about that, by the way. Every time they give each other little kisses, I'm like,
so gross.
You haven't brushed your teeth in like 2 weeks. It's so freaking gross.
I do think that they could have been forced together and had ships passing in the night moments more often using arena mechanics, which I think would have portrayed the Capitol as just as cruel. Because now they're forcing them to maybe fight, to maybe kill each other, to maybe do this, and it would have kept happening. And I think it would have had the same outcome on the Capitol audience, that, like, are they going to actually do this, or are they going to, like, attempt to stay together until the end kind of thing, and that would still be there.
I don't think Katniss would have been able to let go as much as she did if that had been there. If the removal of having to kill Peeta would have been there. But okay, I want to ask Katy a question. Katy, do you think...
Oh, no.
Do you think that people in the games fucked?
Yeah, it's like Big Brother.
That's what we all said, too. I was like, definitely tributes fucked.
Oh, absolutely. I think
gross.
Maybe not in this game. Maybe
no, not in this game, but... It's probably happened, right?
But it's absolutely happened.
Nice. Okay, I wasn't alone on that. Perfect.
Oh my god.
Okay, we can move on now.
Oh my god. Katy, have you read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes?
No.
And Julia, you have also not read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Correct.
So my question for both of you is, after reading book one, what do you believe the purpose of the games is? As well as, like, its metaphor of things.
You want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first, because I have to think about this question.
Okay. I think the purpose of the games is kind of what Katniss talks about at the beginning. That it's like to remind the people that the Capitol's in charge and we can take your kids.
Okay.
It's like always there. We're in charge. We're in charge. We're in charge.
Population control. Traumatizing people to break their spirits so they have control over them a little bit, more. Reminding them that they can do this. They have the power to do this. Don't rebel. All that stuff. Plain cruelty for entertainment. But definitely I think population control is definitely...
That's fucked up. I had not thought of that, but that is... Oh boy.
Which makes me think that's actually not the reason now.
One thing that I thought of was there's a lot of people having kids that they know that are going to end up in the games.
Mm-hmm.
And like Katniss's point kind of near the end of like, I will never get married and I will never have kids because I can't watch that. Like to me, after like 74 years, I feel like less and less people would want to have kids.
That is something that was in my original. So I only left 2 original notes in it from the first time that I read it. One was, why is anybody still having children if this is the outcome to having kids? And the other one was about the mutations, and it was just, they spelled mutation wrong. So, yeah, that's a glimpse into 2009 Jessica. She's an asshole.
Because, like, even now...
More so than current Jessica.
Even now with, like, the political climate and all that stuff, like, our generation doesn't want to have kids. And it's not even that, like, Hunger Games level bad.
That's political and economics. The entirety of the millennial generation is like...
Exactly. So it's like you put that on top of it. But didn't they get something for having kids? Wasn't there like a boon or something?
I don't think so.
They got a boon if the child turns
12.
Old enough to enter into the games, but they could put their name in more to get the boon.
Yeah. And there was a time limit on that to put the tesserae into the bowl, which ultimately added their name into the bowl another time. That's why Gale's is in there like 42 times, I think he says. But other than that, I don't think that there was any advantage to having
I'd be interested in like maybe finding like a Suzanne Collins interview or something if she ever addresses that, like if there was some sort of incentive. Oh, because I found a book and it's not written by Suzanne Collins, but someone made a whole book pretty much discussing all the tributes in book 1. And that was really interesting. Because I know we kind of... I'm going to send it. Obviously,
and you're obviously going to send it to us. Yes.
But
thank you.
That would be definitely interesting. Yeah.
I have to skip over the rest of my notes because I don't want to spoil things from a later book.
One thing I want to bring up, only because you guys already brought up this comment. When Peeta says, Haymitch said you would take a lot of convincing. And then at the end... He is like so shocked that it was a show for Katniss. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like...
Yeah.
The line where he says, Haymitch said you would take a lot of convincing would make me think that he would have kind of been aware of that, right? Or am I reading too much into this?
Yes, but I think at that point, though, he thought that Katniss had come around and actually developed feelings for him because of the performance in the interviews.
Yeah, because by the time she gets to the end and she's explaining that, we're in trouble because we're going to take the Nylock berries, and he's like, yeah, and she's like, oh, they didn't like our little show. They didn't like the... we both won. He's like, but we won because we love each other. And...
Yeah, I guess that is like kind of at the beginning when they first find each other. So then there's literally 6 chapters of them in that fucking cave, which I was like, what a waste of time.
Yep.
Right? Like, did you guys think that there was much use in there? I thought that they could have spent more time on capital stuff when they got back.
I think they could have spent more time on the banging scenes.
They could have fucked. What is
in that cave?
Why weren't they fucking? Why weren't they fucking?
This is young adult literature, and it is because they are 16. You fucking perverts.
Hormones. Hello.
Also, the fact that they're cuddling the whole time, and she never says like, "I felt a boner." That's just never mentioned. I'm like, okay. He's spooning you?
He's too dehydrated and injured for a boner, Julia. Give him a break. He's about to lose his leg in a few days.
He's a child. Those just pop up all willy-nilly.
Literally.
Oh my god. Okay, so in the cave, because... as Julia pointed out, there's like 6 fucking chapters of being in this cave. It is pouring down rain outside the entire time that they're in the cave, which is what keeps them in the cave. Fine. But they ultimately have that heart-to-heart, and Peeta at one point says, do not die for me. You won't be doing me any favors. And I feel like Katniss can't fathom this because her entire love language is acts of service. She's like, what do you mean, don't die for you? Of course I would die for you, because I don't want to be the one that has to kill you, number 1, and number 2, I care about you, and caring about you means making big sacrifices and big risks. And he also doesn't care that the other tributes are actively dying for him. In order for any of them to make it to the end, someone has to die so that you don't. And so all at the same time, they are dying for each other, they're dying for their loved ones, they're dying for strangers that they've never met, and they are also dying for nothing but spectacle and entertainment.
But like for them, I don't know. I think that verbiage is a stretch. Like Katniss would be sacrificing herself for them.
I say for them in the note that in order for anyone to make it to the end of the game, someone has to die.
Yes, but I think he specifically doesn't want Katniss to be like, well, if it's you or me, I'm going to go, because Peeta doesn't think he has a great home life, I would assume, right? And he'd rather have Katniss win and go home to her family. And especially because she's so important in the district with her hunting skills. So I think he's saying to her, like, specifically, you don't die for me if we have a choice, because I don't want that.
Well, yeah, Peeta would never be able to go home and have like a pleasant welcome home experience if she had sacrificed herself for him and he won. I also think Peeta would have just died. So then both of them would have died.
Which is what he tries to do on top of the cornucopia, right? He's like, oh, well, it's going to be me. And he just undoes his tourniquet. And he's like, I'll bleed out. What are you going to do? Which is the weirdest argument.
But he's got a point.
Yeah. No, he's got a point. He is going to bleed out. There is a point in the games, and Caesar also brings it up, where he's like, when did you realize that you had feelings for Peeta? And I don't believe that Katniss realizes she has any sort of feelings for Peeta. I think she questions them. I think she's like, maybe it's okay to, maybe, possibly. But there is the line where she's talking about being with him in the arena, and he's like, well, back home, there's a whole bunch of competition. And she outright says, you don't have much competition anywhere. Oh, how cute. And then they kiss, which is gross because they haven't brushed their teeth in 2 weeks. She imagines at this point that, like, Haymitch is egging her on to express some feelings, but she did, like, I don't think that she genuinely meant, you don't have any competition anywhere. I think that is her thinking, how do I ramp up this romance? How do I sell this to the Capitol? How do I make 100%. This a product? I don't think...
But she takes her moment, and she sits there and thinks about it for too long to have that be a genuine reaction.
Yeah.
Well, Caesar also helps her out and says,
he, like, coaches
this is the moment I'm... Yes. And she literally, like, in her mind says, like, thank you, because she knows she's in trouble with the Capitol. And Haymitch says, you have to play it up. And this is another thing that bothers me, is that this whole book, she doesn't get a chance to make up her mind about who she loves, who she doesn't love. Like, she's forced to love Peeta.
Yeah.
From day one, right? To play this up. Like, she has no choice in her own life.
Yeah. They kind of just trauma bond, and then she's like shoved together with him, and then
and
they're together.
And because he loves her, she has to play along.
Yeah,
right. Like, they don't even have a choice to go another angle, and that pisses me off, because it's like, okay, well, he loves her, that's great, but like, you don't force someone into this, like. And yes, I know it's, for the entertainment, it's the show, and these are kids that are going to die unless they have, like, a gimmick, right? But she had no choice. They had no discussion. They had, this is what you're going along with. And hey, now you're in trouble, so you have to go along with it even more.
Do you think it might have hit home a little harder if Peeta and Katniss had expressed feelings for each other prior to the reaping?
Well, yeah. I mean, if they even talked beforehand, it would have been better.
Yes.
Like, for him to be like, I've been in love with you this whole time. And she's like, I haven't spoken to you once in my whole life.
I've spoken to you maybe once. I think I mouthed thank you at you when you tossed burnt bread my way. But yeah.
I also think that there was a major disservice done with Haymitch just choosing to not include Peeta in the we're in danger thing. Like, I think that would have helped his understanding with what Katniss was kind of going through. Like, I don't know why he was not included in that conversation. He's clearly good at acting.
Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't included, period, in the discussion where it's like, I don't think that she likes you back, dude. But in order, like, that no one sat him down and had this conversation with him to be like, so, you like this girl. I think it's pretty clear that, she does her own thing and has no romantic intention toward anybody right now. We can absolutely play up your side of it, but the reality is that she's never going to believe you while you're in the arena. like, your chance has been blown. Like, there was no discussion like that for Peeta.
But it's also weird that he didn't, like, come to that conclusion by himself either.
Well, I think it's also because this whole point is supposed to be commentary, right? On boy and girl roles, right? If a boy loves a girl, oh my gosh, we have to, like, push that narrative, you know?
Like, lucky us.
Yeah. Like, that girl should be lucky that you love her, you know, sort of thing. Yes. And I think that's definitely a commentary, right? Like, why don't you love him back? He's nice.
Yeah. Like, look, he's trying. Why don't you love him?
Yeah. You know, there's also, like, no medium ground, as I'll just repeat for what producer Rob said for everyone's sake, where he notes that, like, part of the conception of womanhood or girlhood is that they all have crushes on someone at some point. And I think the portrayal is you are either boy crazy or you are like Katniss and you're like, I don't want to date anybody. I don't want to be involved with anybody.
I don't even notice when a boy likes me.
I don't even notice. I'm too obtuse, right? Like, there's no in between where someone has ever picked it up from someone but not somebody else, or has, like, had a moment where they're like, oh, I kind of like that guy, and then they fade out of it. Like, they never show the wave. There's only two ends of the bell curve. There's nothing in between of it.
And I think since this book has been written, we've learned a lot about feelings and sexuality and stuff, and that there's more than, you know, two concepts out there. And I think that this was probably a good book for a lot of people who are like, well, I don't develop feelings for someone like normal, right? Like, I don't have the normal way of developing feelings. Like, I don't just attach to someone. It takes a lot for me to like someone, you know, sort of thing. And I think that's a good, I don't want to say representation, because I don't know if that's what Suzanne Collins was trying to do, but I know it's a big part of life and society now.
Yeah.
You know?
I was going to say, I have always been team nobody for Katniss. That the series ends and she's just like, I am independent, everybody can go fuck themselves. Or, like, at this point, now that we have more of the language to say it, like, team asexual Katniss, that she doesn't have a romantic attraction to somebody because she's literally dealing with things that are more important than a teen romance.
I think if she had feelings for Peeta and Peeta had feelings for her, as 16-year-olds, their hormones would be going crazy, and they'd pull a big brother and grab a blanket.
They'd grab a tarp or the sleeping bag.
Grab a tarp or the sleeping bag and try to hide everything from the cameras. Team asexual Katniss.
Why do you think what was happening with the other tributes that let them stay in that cave for so long? Because that sounds like really bad TV to me. Like 4 days or more of just plain rain. Like, to me, that did not fit the narrative of everything else that was going on.
I think it was probably with Cato and Thresh, like, hunting each other.
Yeah. My theory is that the rain was only happening around their cave.
Oh, interesting.
To keep them there so that they could focus on Cato and Thresh hunting each other in a big field. Because, I mean, like, we see that, right? I brought that up already with the arena mechanics, where there's the giant wall of fire, the fireballs. We're just getting up to it, but the dehydration of the arena around them, like, which is weird because for 4 days it was just pouring down rain, and then they're like, oh, the rain stopped, and they come out and there's no water anywhere. Like,
those game makers could have flooded that cave to get them out of there if they really wanted to.
Yes. And like, that's part of my point of bringing it up, that there were so many other ways to get Katniss and Peeta together and, like, looking at each other than to have the, okay, well, the arena makers have decided that if you're both from the same district, you can live at the end. That's what I'm saying. Like, there were more creative ways for them to have done that. Yeah,
but again, I just think that her emotional reaction was what the audience wanted, right? Where she realizes it goes, Peeta, and you can be like, okay, well, she actually really does care for him, instead of being thrusted at him and being like, oh, hey,
bye.
Promise not to kill each other for now, you know?
Yeah. That does bring us to the final battle at the lake and the mutations and Cato dying throughout the entire night. So they dehydrate the arena, which forces them toward the lake because they're not going to have anything to drink or any sort of, like, moisture in the air until they get to the lake. And they're like, now we're out in the open. Cato's going to be able to find us. We're just waiting at this point. And he comes through screaming He's just running out of the forest, and they're like, what the hell? And then all of the mutations come after them, which chases them all up the cornucopia. Again, arena mechanics. Once they're up there and they have that fight off, and PETA takes his own blood and makes an X on Cato's hand, like, fine, cool, nice imagery, and Cato goes down and he's getting torn out. I truncated this at the diner today, but here is a rather long section. We hear him hit, the air leaving his body on impact, and then the mutts attack him. PETA and I hold on to each other, waiting for the cannon, waiting for the competition to finish, waiting to be released, but it doesn't happen. I can't understand how he can be surviving until I remember the body armor, and I realize what a long night this could be. I don't know how long it has been, maybe an hour or so, when Cato hits the ground and we hear the mutts dragging him back into the cornucopia. But there's still no cannon. Night falls and the anthem plays, and there's still no picture of Cato in the sky, only the faint moans coming through the metal beneath us. The next hours are the worst of my life. The cold could be torture enough, but the real nightmare is listening to Cato moaning, begging, and finally just whimpering as the mutts work away at him. It takes a moment to find Cato in the dim light in the blood. Then the raw hunk of meat that used to be my enemy makes a sound, and I know where his mouth is. Pity, not vengeance, sends my arrow flying into his skull. Did you get him? The cannon fires an answer. That was the most violent thing in the book.
I don't know. I feel like I was so desensitized at that point. Like, it didn't bother me, I think, as much as it should have.
It makes sense, though.
Right, but, like, that's the point, is we've seen all this we've seen all this other violence, and so by the time we come up and we spend the night listening to somebody getting torn apart and ripped and eaten.
See, I think they could have spent more time on. That's 2 lines of them being like, and we spent all night listening to the hymn. It's almost like it feels like a summary instead of like her really sitting with it.
That's because this was a summary. I truncated a lot of this. This was actually like a couple pages worth of description of him getting torn apart.
But it doesn't really say that they're like biting him little by little and tearing him apart. Like he's just laying there.
No, but they kind of are though. Like you can
in pain.
hear them biting him and stuff.
Yeah, they're like talking. There's parts of him talking about chewing, and they can hear that, and like he's whimpering and crying and begging, and prior to, we hear him hit there, and his body's on impact, he's fighting them actively. And she's like, why is he surviving? Oh, right, he's got body armor. Good for him. A lot of good that's doing. There's also the moment before this when she looks into the eyes of the mutts and sees that they're from the other tributes.
That was more disturbing to me.
That was definitely a lot more disturbing.
Yeah.
And then, they just get back to the capital.
And boob jobs.
Yeah, boob jobs. Boob jobs that I did not imagine. Boob jobs that were argued about.
You feel vindicated?
I do, actually. I do.
That's okay. I felt vindicated about the whole school thing, where they were in school together. Mm-hmm. Because I brought that up.
Yeah.
So,
I'm like,
you feel vindicated about your boobs.
It's not my boobs. It's her boobs. And she doesn't even get new boobs. She gets bra padding because Haymitch made such a shit fit.
Fine. You feel vindicated about a 16-year-old's boob job.
Love that for you.
No, she doesn't get the boob job. That's what I feel vindicated about.
It's mentioned.
Yes.
It's mentioned.
I also, I do agree with Julia here that we could have cut 6 chapters of the cave to have more time back in the capital for the repercussions of what they've done.
Yeah.
Not only that we could have found out that PETA lost his leg prior to the interview instead of I lost it. And she's like, that's my fault. And he's like, oh yeah, your fault that I'm alive. And then they just move on. Like, I don't know. I feel like there could be more discussion. Like,
I forgot that he lost his leg. Fully left my brain. Gone.
If I ever say that I remember a book that I read 10 years ago and that I feel confident that just slap me because I forgot 75% of that book.
Even if it was a year ago, I've forgotten 75. I read so many books, and even while we're doing these discussions, right, because we only read 7 to 10 chapters a week depending on the book. Yeah. Once I finish my 10 chapters, I start reading another book. Which is
I'm fully reading 6 books at the same time.
Exactly. And so if you were like, so Jessica, what happens? And I'll be like, oh, well, then they, they went to the farm and the pigs started telling them all these fascist ideas. Wait, no, that's not the right book. But then the government told them that they had to not believe their eyes and ears. Wait, nope, wrong book. Then they all had this blood ceremony where they dripped stuff over hot rocks. Wait, nope, wrong book.
Yeah.
And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Don't ever trust me if I'm like, I've read this book a year ago and stuff happens in it, because it could have been the dictionary for all you know. And my brain is just like, no, it's all the same. They've all got words.
Mm-hmm. I have to go pretty soon.
Okay.
But this was fun.
Yay.
I hope you guys have a lovely finish into your discussion. Okay, bye, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Like Julia had said, they spend an awful lot of time in the cave, and that really could have just been squished down an accordion together before they went and murdered Cato and listened to him get eaten all night.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could have seen more of the Capitol and more of things that I know that we wind up seeing in Catching Fire, but we could have seen glimpses of it here.
Right.
Where, you know, people are super fans and they're doing their hair like Katniss does her little braid, and maybe they start wearing like District 12 stuff. Like they really get into their fandom of the latest victors, especially because it's victors, plural, and it's never happened before in the history of the game. I think this also could have been a time where they might have been able to have a talk that, you know, Katniss doesn't understand her feelings, and given the context with which she discovered your feelings, can you blame her? I think more could have happened post-Arena, especially consequences-wise.
Yeah, and she even says that they don't do interviews with the victor for a couple days after, right? Yeah. And we see why. We see her in the hospital. We see them trying to get her to eat and kind of like not fatten up, but, you know, not be skin and bones. Yeah, health her up and all this stuff. And I feel like you're right, but she was also unconscious for a lot of that time. Are the other victors the same way, where they spend days and days and days in the hospital and then they're just thrown into the interview once they wake up? Or do they have some time, you know, like to walk around, to meet people, to kind of go on like a press tour sort of thing?
Yeah. And she does have some downtime because she starts looking for PETA almost immediately when she's like, I'm able to get up and move around the suite. And she like goes up to the roof and she's like, he's not on the roof. He's not down here. He's not in the breakfast nook. He's not whatever. And they actively keep them apart because they want their reunion to be live on television and entertainment. But I feel like they're sneaky and conniving enough that they could have found a way to each other and maybe have had that, or even had Haymitch sit him down and be like, hey, so
let's talk girls.
Let's talk about girls and trauma bonding and how that's not necessarily great. I think by a modern day standpoint that's one of the failings of the book. The other one I already prattled on about, that maybe we didn't need the two victor thing. In the moment, in that time, like in 2009, it ended in the perfect way, that they're about to step off and go home. And PETA gives her the I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed tone, where it's like, what is it? It's one more time for the audience. He says his voice isn't angry, it's hollow, which is worse. And then they're about to step through the doors. I think here we should have seen that go through, because in another book that I can't talk about until you guys get to read these other books. So here's another note. I think Rob should just keep a file of all the times I'm not allowed to talk about things. But this is another thing where we see another person get to go home to some things that happen to that person. And that's all I'm going to say, so I don't spoil it for my co-hosts. Yes. But I kind of wish that we got to see that. I wish that we got to see a little of the interviews where PETA is especially cold to her, because I know we're going to see that in Catching Fire.
Yes.
I just like a few things just kind of needed to shift into the first book, and there would be plenty of space if we got rid of the time in the cave.
I liked it the way it was, honestly. And yeah, I did get a little bored, but not like to the point where I'm like, they could have cut that, you know, like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed rereading it again.
I did too. I thought that I might not, because a lot of times when I go to reread things from my youth, it's not as magical, or the writing quality is like highly reflective of the times, because the last 10 years have been like a golden age for children's literature and YA in general. And there's been a whole bunch of new understanding of writing for young adults versus when we were target young adult audience. And they kind of wrote at you and nobody wrote for you. They were just like, this is an appropriate topic for a 16-year-old to read. And we were like, cool, I'm gonna go read adult books because you suck.
Honestly, the commentary and what was written and everything so far in book 1 has aged pretty well. Which
is sad.
And I was just going to say, which shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have aged that well. But it has. And it's one of those books where you're like, wow, we're still dealing with these times, but it's 10 times worse now. It's not just about the reality TV commentary anymore. It's literally
it was
the government.
It was never just about the reality TV. Part of it was like what we are willing to stomach next to each other. I have seen an interview with her where she was talking about like the coverage of the Iraq War. And so she'd be like, watching a Saturday morning cartoon, they'd show a clip of some pretty horrific wartime scenes and then go back to just content. And she was like, after a certain point, it didn't bother me when I saw these clips. And when I read that interview, I was also thinking about the stuff that we'd seen as kids, which Maggie and Julia probably didn't. Like, we saw a guy executed on a live stream, and we actively watched the newsreel of 9/11 and saw people jumping out of the building. Like, these are things that were live. They weren't just...
Not only live, but then the documentaries that were aired live, and people were like, oh, let's watch this documentary. You know, like, I know now that, like, with documentaries, you normally don't see those on live TV, right? They don't air them on the big channels. But because it was 9/11, it was covered live. They aired the documentaries on major television networks. You could be flipping around channels and stuff and not be like, okay, I'm going to self-consciously sit down and choose to watch this on my streaming platform.
It was just in your face and it was everywhere.
Let's break out the popcorn and have a family TV night watching this, you know, horrible shit.
They do the same thing now. There's all the protests in Minnesota and they actively block, you know, the peaceful parts of it. And then all you see are clips of people ultimately being executed by the government, because that's what's happening. And there's no filter. There's nothing. It's just there and you see it. And eventually you start scrolling past it instead of absorbing it. Not only because you have seen it already, but your mental health can't take that anymore.
Yes. And I know someone who posts a lot about like Gaza and Palestine and stuff like that. And they share images, and I have to scroll past because, one, I don't want to become desensitized. 2, I can't mentally handle that. 3, I can't emotionally handle that. You know, like, especially having a child of my own. You know what I'm saying? And I knew I couldn't handle it because of the Ukraine situation. I watched the Ukraine situation on TV, and I just constantly cried and cried and cried, watching people board trains and different transportations trying to get out of Ukraine, and kids crying and I'm crying. And I just was like, I can't keep doing this to myself.
Yeah.
I know it tries to get people to speak out and stop it and stuff like that. And I'm all for that. But I just, with everything going on, there's only so much I can pick and choose to be informed on at this point.
Yeah. It's wild to me how relevant this and other dystopian literatures are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it angers me in such a steaming, filling up a hot air balloon sort of way, because it is so everywhere. There's a word for it. Omnipresent. There we go. You can't look anywhere. You can't listen to anything without consuming it in some way. And that's part of the message here. The districts are literally forced to watch this.
Yes.
There is no way around it. And the Capitol enjoys watching this, but they have a different attitude toward it. There's also all of the language used around speaking about the districts, right? there's so much confusion about what actually happens in other districts. We learn from Rue that just because they make all the food in District 11 doesn't mean that they're actively getting food in District 11. You know, there's ways that they have to come down and they can't be seen taking breaks and they can't do this. And so some districts we learn specifically through Rue are even harsher than District 12. But the language that has been used around it is that, you know, these people are trash and these people are less than human and these people are not people, which justifies when you watch a tribute from another district die. Right. Which is part of what is happening right now, where, you know, they say illegal immigrant instead of just an immigrant. Because as long as they have the modifier in front of it, it makes you think of them as less than human. Yes. Which, you know, where have we seen those tactics before? The reason that happens is so that you become both desensitized and morally okay with what is happening. Because so long as they are less than human, you're okay with any treatment they get. And that's what happens here. And that's why it is still relevant. That's why it's important to re-examine dystopian literature or literature in general, because literature makes us empathic to other people. Literature teaches us about worldviews that we would not otherwise get in our everyday life. And dystopian literature especially teaches us that in banding together, we can overcome things. That it will be a journey and it will be a battle, but that together we can overcome things.
Right. And it also, like, I guess when you rebel, you got to be prepared to lose people or yourself, you know, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy and it's not going to be quick.
Yeah. The last thing that I want to say about it, because this is another big things that Suzanne has actually said, you know, she was actively thinking about when drafting the Hunger Games, is the idea of just war theory, as in, like, what ideas justly lead us to war and the penalties and consequences of that we justify. And it's really the same thing, because as we sit here and we say, like, their ideas and they're terrible, blah, 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 on the other side, they're also saying their ideas, and everyone thinks that they're on the right side. And that's part of the danger of all of it, because it is so extreme that even on our side, where we are like, everyone's a person, we all believe that that is correct. And I truly, with my whole heart and chest, believe that that is correct. But on the other side, they also believe, yes, every white person is a person. Every person who is not from a specific country is a person. Everyone who is not of a specific sexuality is a person. And there's always a new line to draw it to.
I came from the other side as well. I was raised opposite, right, of what I believe now. And you're right with the whole, just because you say illegal immigrant, right? Like, oh, well, they commit crimes. They do this. Okay, but does that really justify them being
getting shot in the street? Yeah.
And sure, there are some criminals where the death penalty should be applied to, right? You know, certain ones, really horrible ones, but that doesn't mean you don't get to go through the justice system. That doesn't mean you get to be killed on the street, right? You have to be judged by a group of your peers.
It's almost like there's an amendment in the Constitution about it.
And, you know, you have to have probable cause, and it has to be proven that this, you know, and so growing up on that side, you know, like, oh, well, they're criminals. And now on this side, I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't mean that we just go kill them on the street.
Also, criminal is like a very big umbrella term, because you could be arrested for possessing marijuana, but that is not the same as being arrested for murdering somebody.
Correct.
So, gotta weigh those out.
And also, because someone has a criminal past doesn't mean that they haven't changed.
This book has aged like fine wine, and I don't like it.
Yes.
I mean, I love it. I love this book. I love dystopian literature. But I hate that it is still relevant. I hate that we have not learned our lessons. I hate that we continue to repeat history. I hate that there is a cult of ignorance in the world.
I hate hate.
I hate hate. I hate. Hate. loathe entirely. It blows my mind that there are so many opportunities to learn, and that there are people who will always go, no, I don't want to.
But then there's also people who erase history so you can't even learn it.
Yes, and we also know that they actively did that in the Capitol, like they're doing right now, where they're printing books. Here's the thing, right? So when we were kids and we learned about history, I use Thanksgiving as an example all the time when I go on this rant. We learned about Thanksgiving in that we were friends with the Indians and they gave us help when we came to their land. That was the story that you learn.
I mean, it happened, but is that the majority of cases?
Yeah. We conveniently leave out the rape and the scalping and the syphilis-infested blankets and the amount of diseases that we brought and
the enslavement,
the systemic genocide, and that's before we even get to slavery trademark in the South. Like, that's just what we did to indigenous people. We don't learn about that till college, and only if you take, like, upper-level history classes, because otherwise it's still just glanced over. In fact, I didn't learn about that until I specifically took a U.S. Constitution class and had Armstrong, and she made us watch a great many documentaries.
This is an example of the mental exhaustion. I just want to get back to the book because...
Yeah! I want to get back to the book because the book is fiction, and I know that the trilogy ends on a kind of happy note, right? Like,
kind of, yeah.
I think that is important to end on.
Yes.
That I do want to get back to the book. I want to continue reading. I want to get back to a world that these events are strictly fiction.
But I also think that these books should make a huge major comeback, you know, and we should be forcing it down people's throats.
I believe that as well, that dystopian literature, as I said earlier, teaches us to band together, and that in banding together that we can overcome the evils of the world. And I think we need that message.
Sorry. It made me think of the Instagram story that I posted today about watching Star Wars with someone who supports ICE. And it's like... And, like, the guy is just like, oh, here we go. We're creating the Empire. Let's go. Yeah. And then, like, it's the scene with the kid where Anakin's walking to the Jedi, you know, the young Jedi kids. And it's
Order 66.
Like, yes. And the kid just, like, the little blonde bowl cut kid goes up to him. And the guy is just like, see? He's like, that's threatening. That's threatening. And then you see, like, Anakin, like, start his lightsaber, and he's like, he's doing it in self-defense. He's doing it in self-defense. You cannot come at Anakin like that. That is threatening. It's totally on the kid. The kid was wrong.
I have also seen, you know, how we know that it's a fascist regime, and Star Wars is one of them in that everybody is masked. So like they've got all the helmets, and then they bring up Hunger Games where the peacemakers all have helmets, and like a whole bunch of other media that it's just like, if you're wearing a mask while you're doing it, you're not on the right side.
Nope.
And I can't help but point out the Nazis didn't even mask themselves.
Nope.
Which makes you more of a coward than Nazis.
Thanks for staying up with us. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at BookedAllNightPod. Drop a comment to let us know what you thought of today's show, and join our Discord server for giveaways, excerpts, and more. It's still in the works, but we're aiming for 100 members. Catch our live author interviews on YouTube and leave a question for our guests on our Discord server. Check out our shop and website at bookedallnight.co. And if you're loving the chaos, don't forget to rate us 5 stars. Until next time, booklets, stay booked all night.